as a business owner in today's world, it is crucial you have an online presence. But getting one and maintaining it is a scary process, I'm sure, and you've probably already recognized that. Today we are going to talk about some tips to help you develop and be consistent in your online presence and getting the most out of it that you possibly can. Welcome to the Power of Business video. This is one of resources that we present to you as part of a team effort from the University of Nebraska, the University of Vermont, North Dakota State University, and eXtension, and with some partial funding from the Southern Rural Development Center E-Commerce National Initiative. And our focus in our effort here at the Power of Business is to help you be successful. However you want to define success, we know it's monetarily, but we know you probably have other priorities too. Today, we're going to talk about this online presence and getting started and making the most out of it with Connie Hancock from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Connie has worked long and hard with business owners, directly with them, helping them develop their online presence, and she's brought us a top 10 list. So, Connie?
Thank you, Glenn. It is exciting to talk about these top 10 plus one lists, because there's one piece of this that I think business owners still need to consider as we move forward with their online presence. First off, you have to identify your goals. What is it that you really want to accomplish with this online presence? And I talk about online presence with the whole package, thinking about your website, the social media tools that you're going to be using, what kind of collaboration are you going to be needing, what is the whole package that you need to make decisions on. And you need that team of people to help you, because I don't know that we can do it ourselves today totally, but at least having that help of thought-provoking folks to get you off the ground with accomplishing those goals and creating those goals is going to be critical. Then you need to tell the people. We can no longer be bashful about who we are and what we have to offer and what our product potentially can do for folks. We have to tell the people. So we have to be in locations in this online world to share, to tell our message, but our message has to be consistent. It has to be powerful. It has to be what are the benefits that I have to offer to you. And so we have to be very careful and creative about the message that we're telling people.
Do you have an idea of, if I'm a business owner and I haven't been really online much, where might you say I should start?
Well, in my experience, the website is the foundation of your online presence. It's the place that if, in fact, you're going to be wanting to sell product at some point in time, you want to be able to drive people to that location. So having a website, having a domain name that is yours, I think is where people need to get started. They can also get started in the social media world, but you need to have that major platform of your website as the foundation, Glenn. So, just talking about that of your website and your social media stuff, once you've created those environments and you're telling the people about this, you need to be active. Don't think that you're going to create the Facebook page or the Twitter feed or the Pinterest board and it's going to be active. You have to then be active as well. You have to share information. It goes back to crafting that message, what you're going to be telling people. And you have to also then be active on other people's boards, other people's blogs, providing information, not necessarily always about yourself, because you want to become an authority in the product or the topic that you're talking about. So you don't want to always talk about yourself, because it really is all about your customer and what the customer's needs are and how we can help those needs with what we're trying to do with our small business. And then be responsive. Once we're in that world of being social, you have to continually be social. So engage with the conversation. Talk to others on this online environment. And always, always, always say thank you. I mean, there's no difference of people being in your brick and mortar store, but we also need to be appreciative of the things that people are either saying about us or the conversations that are going on in this social environment. So we have to be responsive as well.
And I think you've given us a real good tip right there, is that it is much like your store, even though you're online, the same etiquette, the same things. When people come in, you expect a welcome. When people step out, you expect to thank you. And when they're in there asking questions, you're responsive to their wants and needs.
Well, exactly. So if somebody likes you on a Facebook post or likes a comment, or they're making a comment on your blog, we need to also, just in conversation in the online world, say thank you, or I agree with what you're saying, or challenge the conversation somehow. No different than we would face to face, Glenn. Be engaging. We talked about being responsive and being timely. We also have to be engaging. So we talked about the conversation. It goes back to, and being responsive and being engaging are kind of hand in hand, I think, because if we're not responsive, then we're not engaging. And if we're not engaging, we're not being very responsive to our customers. So it all depends upon the time, but you have to take the time to pay attention to what's going on in your online environment and the profiles that you have created in this world.
And it's important, I think, though, as you're talking about being responsive, being engaging, thanking people, as you develop your profile, I think you would agree with me that you don't need to be all places. It's better to do one or two well than to try to scatter yourself all over the board and not reach your goals on any of them.
Right, exactly. Because if we think that we're going to be on all of these social media platforms that we're talking about at one time, we're going to become overwhelmed with the work that is we're trying to do, and we're going to fail miserably at it. But if we take one of the platforms, one of the social media networks, and do it very well, then we add another and another. And there are tools out there to help us manage all of that. And Glenn is a great one for that, because as he travels doing various presentations and conferences, he manages his time and his social environment so that it's all scheduled. And when he's gone, it still looks like he's tweeting or posting or blogging about something. And so he's very good about that and very thoughtful about that. And I think that's critical for our small business owners to know, that when there's downtime, you can create a whole lot of content for this online world that can be shared in various times in the future. Be consistent. Not only be consistent with your profile as you create each of those profiles, but be consistent with your message, the call to actions that you want for people, making sure that the look and feel of all of these things are consistent so that you develop that reputation, you develop that brand, and people begin to trust who you are in this online world. That consistency is so critical in developing relationships with people that you want to do business with. Monitor. And this is something that is so hard to do, and it's something that there are lots of tools out there to help us with, but we need to monitor what's going on. We need to monitor the conversation. We need to monitor who is lurking or who is watching us. We need to analyze then that data of what was the post that we had, what was the most activity on that post, and then make wise decisions about future information that we're going to be sharing. It's no different than analyzing our sales in the brick and mortar store. We need to analyze that information in the online environment as well. And that will help us make wise decisions about future changes that we're going to be making and future decisions that we're going to implement. The content calendar is something that really can help us. So if you know that Wednesday mornings there's nothing going on in the store, or nothing really too much involved in your life, then maybe that's the day that you set aside 2 hours to create content, to write the posts, to write the blog, to think about what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks, so that you actually take the time to craft the message, to make the landing page, so that you get that call to action and you get the kind of response that you want from your customers. But you have to set that time aside. If you don't, you're going to be doing it at 2 o'clock in the morning, And maybe that is your most active time, your most creative time. But for me, if I don't schedule it, it doesn't necessarily always happen.
And as Connie's pointing out here, when you create the content, doesn't necessarily it isn't when the content is going to go up.
Correct.
So you need to be able, and remember the tools are out there that you can separate those two. You can create the content when you've got the downtime, but then through the online presence, you can also know when your customers are online. And by monitoring, as you suggested, you can know when your specific customers are online. And so you want to pair those together. Create it here, but schedule it to run when they're watching.
It is so much a thought process, Glenn, and it's not something that comes natural for a lot of us. I mean, writing is not easy for me. Crafting the message is not easy for me. But there's times when it comes and I have to just put it all together, knowing that it's not going to be probably posted or shared until maybe a couple weeks later. Very good. In today's world, we have to think mobile. Oh my gosh, the mobile devices that are out there, the adoption of mobile devices is just absolutely incredible. And so we have to think mobile first. Is our site mobile ready? Are our applications that we're incorporating easily adapted for the customer in the mobile environment? Can they scroll using the pinch and drag concept to enlarge a picture or to enlarge the content so that they can read it? So we have to think mobile first, and there's a ton of information out there about helping us think mobile first and making sure that our data and a site is secure. I mean, that's going to be critical in this mobile environment. The last tip then is to think location-based features. What are the services that I want to offer in that location-based piece? You need to make sure that in this online environment that you've got your bubble claimed on the maps, and that includes Google Maps, Bing Maps, Yahoo, MapQuest, all of those, because you do not know which mapping tool people are using, so you need to make sure that bubble is claimed. You need to make sure that that information is accurate. And then what information am I going to be pushing? What services or features do I want then to share? So that if somebody's walking by my location, I can pop up a coupon or a discount for them if they happen to come into the store or the restaurant to get a 10% off. So that location-based feature marketing is going to be another one of those things that you're going to want to consider. And it's going to be pretty powerful, I think, in the future as these mobile devices become more prevalent. The last, the plus one.
The plus one, are we there?
The plus one. The top 10 list plus one is you have got to think into the future. You have got to understand what the trends are. We can no longer sit back and think that they're going to just walk in the door. We have got to be active, we've got to be responsive, and we have to look into the future of where we want to be as a business owner, where we want our business to be, where we personally want to be. But how do we adopt and utilize the tools that are available to us and make a difference in the communities that we work in and the people that we serve? And we have to be able to be responsive to that. And so with that, that is the plus one of the top 10 list of getting started and thinking about, if you're already on the online world, how do I make some changes to my current status to benefit myself as a business owner.
And I think a perfect example of that is, if anybody's been watching, if you've suggested, just go and sit on the street corner and watch the people go by. Everybody's got that mobile device. Well, it wasn't that long ago we wouldn't have thought even much about that. So you need to think about where those kind of trends are going too.
Right, and it's not only people walking up and down the street, it's people driving in their
Yep.
cars, because our cars today have these applications that maybe as they're driving by, the 10% coupon pops up to say, oh, I didn't think about stopping there today, but I could because I've got extra time. Join us on Friday 15th. The first Friday of every month for 15 minutes, we chat we chat live with entrepreneurs, and we want you to share your information. We want you to learn from other entrepreneurs, and then we want you to act. But this is an opportunity for you to gather more information. Powerofbusiness.net, that's the website that you can register at, get more information. This presentation will also be there at powerofbusiness.net. For more information, contact ebizteam@gmail.com.
Connie, thanks so much for being here. You've gotten some great tips on this online presence. If you're not there, it's time. If you're there, you need to keep it up to date and need to stay up to date with the trends, as the +1 tip gave us today. Remember that you can find this presentation at thepowerofbusiness.net. You can find other presentations, and you can find the capture of those live chats that maybe you missed. So that's a resource. We hope you take advantage of it. Thanks for joining us today.